Greetings. Tonight, we are in our third lesson of our series called The Dreamer, Joseph's Life of Faith. His life was tough, but betrayal and character assassination did not defeat Joseph. He was down, but not discouraged. His faith in God was unwavering because God was with him. He worked hard, and God granted him favor in the eyes of the prison guards. It was in jail that he met the butler and the baker from the Pharaoh's palace. And it was this meeting that would be the catalyst for launching Joseph into the place where God could use him the most. Guys, at this point, I would like to ask you to pause the video and read Genesis chapter 40. Many times, God's servants find themselves in situations that could discourage their faith. When we think about Joseph's situation, he had multiple reasons he could feel discouraged. What we see here are potential causes for discouragement in Joseph's life. Our first potential discouragement is the surroundings in prison. We might not know exactly what type of environment Joseph would have been in, but we do know this. He was confined and in custody. He was in a prime situation for discouragement. Our second area is Joseph's situation while in prison. We find that both these servants had dreams while in prison. Joseph noticed that something was bothering them, so he asked them why. When they told him about the dreams, he quickly shared with them that God could interpret the dreams. Even in the middle of an Egyptian prison, Joseph displayed unwavering faith in God. As we continue looking at Joseph's situation, we also see that he was forgotten. Once Joseph heard the dream from the butler, God allowed him to interpret it. Joseph told him that he would be restored to his position. Then Joseph asked the butler to do one thing for him. All he wanted was to be remembered, but the butler forgot him. In fact, we see that he had been forgotten for 2 years. If you were Joseph, would this discourage you? Being forgotten is a major test of faith. It could have been very discouraging for him, but did Joseph start to doubt God? Did he get depressed, angry, irritable? Frankly, we are not told how Joseph felt. The Bible only tells us how he handled himself up until the point of being forgotten. We see a number of things he did that would have helped him avoid discouragement. We could call them his discouragement prevention tactics. We first see that Joseph squashed self-pity. Self-pity is the excessive, self-absorbed unhappiness over one's own troubles. In Joseph's situation, it would have been easy to feel sorry for himself. He had been treated unfairly, and he didn't even deserve to be in jail. When a person's life situation is unfair, focusing on how they feel tends to make matters worse in the long run. It leads to self-pity, further discouragement, depression, and feeling victimized. Self-pity provides no answers and certainly no justice. Joseph squashed self-pity by minimizing how much he talked about his feelings, and that is one reason that we can say he was down but not discouraged. Not only did he squash the self-pity, he helped prevent discouragement by serving others. When Joseph was in prison, he was given the responsibility to look after the needs of others. He had to serve them. Perhaps this was God's way of working behind the scenes to help him keep his eyes off himself and avoid the self-pity trap. Finally, Joseph personally cared for people who were hurting. Now, there's a difference between serving others and actually caring for people who are hurting. Joseph did not just go through the motions of serving. He cared enough to personally get involved in their problems. Remember the events. One morning he walked up to the servants and saw that they were upset. But instead of keeping a safe distance and hoping they figured out their own problems, he cared enough to offer his help. This took his service to a whole new level. Caring for others puts our problems in a whole new light and helps us beat back the feelings of discouragement. Joseph's actions and reactions teach us a great deal about how we can deal with our own problems. When he was down, he refused to give in to discouragement. He refused to mention his negative feelings about those unfair circumstances. He kept himself busy by serving others in jail, and he cared enough to get personally involved in the problems of people who were hurting. Those 3 choices opened the door for him to talk to the butler and the baker about God's help. These men were looking for answers from other men, but only God could help them with this. Joseph recognized the opportunity to point them to the ultimate source of help, God himself. It is our privilege as God's children in a world full of hopelessness and broken people to point them to God as well. Do you believe that God could develop in you the same kind of spirit that he created in Joseph? God is working in each of us to develop our faith into an unwavering, rock-solid confidence in him. God never promised that the Christian life would be easy. You may be even in the middle of a difficult and discouraging situation right now, but he always gives us divine power to overcome those circumstances. So draw near to God in faith and let him turn you into someone who is down but not discouraged.